Shavuot Tov to everyone. B'Shem Hashem Natseh v'Natzliach. Be'ezrat Hashem b'li neder, may the shiur that we do today, may the learning of the Torah that we do today, may it be in the merit of the soldiers that are fighting the war in Israel, and also for the captives that are still being held in captivity. May Hashem send them a salvation like the blink of an eye. The Chachamim ask a question: why does it say Yeshua keher of Ayin, that the salvation comes like the blink of an eye? So the Chachamim give an answer, such a beautiful answer, because when a person blinks, he doesn't even realize that he's blinking. So therefore, Rabotai, when the salvation comes, it's going to come so fast without a person even realizing that how fast it came. And that's the Chiddush, Rabotai, when it says salvation can come keher of Ayin. In any event, Rabotai, Bezrat Hashem made everything just come to an end, because the situation is not getting any better, it's only getting worse and worse. Rabotai, today's topic is a little bit sensitive, and I'm going to try to be as honest as possible, and I can't, Rabotai, try to go like this or like this. I'm just going to have to say the way it is, because there's no other way to teach this topic. And what we want to really discuss today is a person allowed to have mercy on somebody that does not have mercy on himself? I give an example. You tell a person to come to pray. He says, no, I don't have no time. You tell a person to learn Torah. He doesn't want to learn Torah. You tell a person to do mitzvot. He's not really interested in doing mitzvot. Rabotai, whatever the situation might be. Now you need to understand, I'm not telling you not to go out there and try to help individuals. You should do that. You should be on guard. But you also need to understand to what extent, by when you're doing that, how much does that cool you off? Because you need to understand, if you're living in an environment where people are only learning 2 hours a day, so you're thinking I'm doing 3, so you think you're a tzaddik. But what happens if I would move you to an environment where they're doing 8 hours a day? So your 3 hours to 8 hours is nothing. Or if a person thinks that all he does is he daven shacharit, and everybody else doesn't daven shacharit, so he thinks he's a tzaddik. But Rabotai, but if you look what's required of us, or you go to a place where they daven 3 times a day, automatically you're not such a tzaddik. What do I want to say, Rabotai, with this? We are very careful to not eat not kosher foods, or not to sleep with other women, or not to kill anybody, or not to do idol worshipping, or not to do big averas, Rabotai, or any avera. We're very careful. But one of the things that we're not careful is with those people that have no mercy on themselves. They just don't care. I mean, you have certain people, and they continue going on their ways. Why is this so important? I'll tell you why. Because here you are trying to heat them up. Here you are trying to help them, to give them that boost. But little do you know, by you doing that, they're cooling you off. And I'll try to give you a small analogy which everybody can relate to. When you have a certain goal, you want to go to college, you want to go to run X, Y, and Z business, does not matter. You want to do something in life. But you have a friend that he doesn't want to do this. And the other friend, he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't see eye to eye with your goal. Tell me, are you going to be friends with them? Meaning, are you going to allow them to get in your way? For example, a person wants to become a lawyer. His friend wants to become a barber. The other friend wants to become a jeweler. The other friend wants to become a businessman. Rabotai, but my goal is one way. Their goals are completely different. And how much time am I going to spend on them before I can even reach my goal? So what we do, Rabotai, in this world, in reality, is we're trying to help everybody else that don't really care for themselves. And they're robbing you from your Olam Haba, from your Avodat Hashem, and you think you're trying to help them. But the problem is, you haven't even helped yourself. You haven't reached the goal where you want to get to, and you're trying to help other people. And that's a very big problem. I want to read for you today, Mesil Yesharim, and you're going to try to, you get a better understanding of what I'm trying to come across. The bottom line I want to show you today, Bezrat Hashem, that a person has to be very careful, not only with averos. Averos are very bad. I'm not even going to speak about them right now. There's nothing more to speak about. Averos are bad. But today I want to speak about our surrounding, our environment, the friends we have, the people we deal with every single day, day in and day out. And then we wonder, why am I not growing in Avodat Hashem? Why am I not becoming a better Jew? You might think you're a tzaddik. You might think you are a better Jew because you're in such an environment where they're not even 1% of what you're doing, so you think you're a tzaddik. That's a problem. If you guys don't remember with Parshat Noach, when Noah, right, it says, some say he was a tzaddik, and some say had you put him in another generation, he wouldn't have been such a great tzaddik, because everybody in the generation were very low people. So you have to always be honest with yourself. Who are you comparing and contrasting yourself to? To Gedolim? To people really like up there? Or to people that are beneath you? And unfortunately, a lot of times, more or less, it's people that are beneath us because we want to feel good, and that's a problem. So I want to just share with you today a very important Mesilat Yesharim, because we need to know that it's not only to stay away from averos which are very important. There's another thing, Rabotai, which I would like to call dangerous minds. It is to stay away from people that have an opposite outlook of what you have. If you have an outlook that you want to grow in Avodat Hashem, you want to become a better Jew, you want to become a refined Jew, better characters, not to curse, not to do X, Y, and Z, and your friends or your environment does not allow you, why are you wasting your time with them? Do you think they're going to be able to help you get there? Absolutely not. Rabotai, I remember one thing only. I'll be honest with you. When I was in St. John's, I went for business. Whatever it was. I went for advertising, marketing. That was my goal. I had a lot of friends. That one went for PA, the other one for pharmacy, the other one went for nursing. And I want to tell you like this. When one of them would try to get in the way with the other, telling, oh, you want to come to this party? Oh, do you want to do this? Oh, do you want to do this? And I'm telling you now, Rabotai, not one of them would give in. If anybody ever attended a college in general, especially their campus, meaning the library campus, if you ever attended the library, if you only see how people would just sit and study, you wouldn't even hear a fly, because each and every one of them had a goal. They wouldn't care for your friend, for this friend, that friend, party. Why? Because they had a goal and they had a plan. Plan was 4 years in college. Goal was to graduate or whatever it is. Might be 5 years for some, a little bit more for others. But the point is, they had a plan and they had a goal, and they didn't allow anybody else to interfere. And so they're very successful. I'm talking about financially wise. But other people that allow their friends to take them here and take them there, no, Rabotai, they're not so well off, and a lot of them, unfortunately, didn't even get married or start families. They don't even have a good, well-paying job. It's very, very hard, Rabotai, because in the beginning they didn't use their time wisely, and in the end, and now they regret it. Not only that, Rabotai, people in general, you can see. Why am I saying this? Because we need to realize like this. We need to have a plan, and we need to know our end goal, and it's very simple. The plan is very simple. There's a Shulchan Aruch, Rabotai, that a person needs to learn, and a person needs to follow the instruction in the Shulchan Aruch. That's number one. And the end goal is also very simple. Our end goal is to be able to make it in Olam Hazeh, to be able to get to Olam Haba, from this world to the next world. Our main purpose in this world is not for this world. Our main purpose in this world is for the next world. But the problem being, what gets in our way, Rabotai, is people, like I said before, dangerous minds. They come to us and they tell us and they try to convince us, and they have no backing, they have no source. Their words are like hot air, just come out and you start contemplating them. I don't understand why in the world would a person listen to another person or even take their opinion into consideration if we don't listen to what the Torah tells us. If we don't take the Torah so seriously, why am I taking the other person seriously? And that's a very big problem. Oh, your mother said like this. Oh, your mother-in-law said like this. Oh, your wife said like this. Rabotai, this is a very big problem. We make Rashi and Tosfot out of what people say instead of really learning Rashi and Tosfot in the Gemara. So that's why, Rabotai, we need to have a plan and we need to know our end goal. Like I mentioned before, one is obligated to learn the Shulchan Aruch, and at the same time, Rabotai, our end goal is Olam Haba. And I want to read for you in the Pirkei Avot in Perek Dalet, in Pasuk Tet Zayin, of how important it is not to get thrown off in this world from these dangerous minds, from people that try to throw you off, and which I like to say naysayers. I don't understand. When I want to tell a person, listen, I can't go here for whatever reason, right? I can't attend this party. Why is it wrong for me to try to do what's right, and here you are, you have to try to get again upset with me? Why? Am I doing something against you, or am I doing what Hashem wants? That means you say you respect, you say you honor, that means you have no respect. Not for yourself and not for me. Again, I'm not talking about me, I'm giving you an example. Yes, Rabotai, the honest truth is, in the first, at least, if from what I can remember, at least the first 5 to 7 years of marriage, yes, it was very difficult. But after that, Rabotai, people already get the message that, what's the point of calling him? He's not going to come. Or if they call me, there I am, I'm trying to tell what they're doing is asur. Some people don't want to hear, so that's why they're not going to call me. Which is fine, Rabotai. We need to remember, we want to be concerned with the mind of the Torah, not with the mind of people. People have their own opinions, that's fine. People are allowed to have their own opinions, I'm not against it. That's why Hashem gave us brains to think. But the question is, how many of them have brains that they're using? They're not, Rabotai. Or better yet, how many of them are influenced by the outside world and they're sharing that information with you? Whereas when you have a Talmud Chacham on the other hand, he's learning Torah and he's sharing that with you. And they think they know better somehow. Today somebody was in my shul. I think he's a student from Rabbi Yeshua. A lot of you might actually even know him. If I'm not mistaken, his name is Boris Nisanov. He's a brother-in-law of Rabbi Chaim Igal. Very nice guy, very, very nice family. Whatever, he heard my, what I'm about to say today, but he heard my, he came from, I guess, from 100 Street. He came to his brother-in-law's house. He heard the musar that I gave this morning. He came, he's like, wow, Rabbi, unbelievable. It's not even normal, you just say it and that's it. I told him, thank you. And he brought up a very important point. He said, do you know why people, not everybody is able to understand our Chachamim? Why everybody has their own opinion? Because people don't understand. Right? If we ever look into Chazal Rabotai, how come the Chachamim were called? He brought this down. I don't know from who he brought it down, but he brought this down, but it makes sense, Rabotai. He says, why does it say that the Chachamim are the Einei Ha'edah? That the Chachamim, they are the eyes of the nation. What do you mean the eyes of the nation? Why are the Chachamim the eyes of the nation? Why can the Chachamim be the heart of the nation? The strength of the nation? Why is the eyes of the nation? So he said very simple. He says, if you ever go to a very big skyscraper, like a very tall building, let's say 120th floor, a person that lives on the first floor can only see a very, very small distance. A person that lives on the 5th floor can see a little bit more than the guy that lives on the 1st floor. A person who lives on the 20th floor can see much more than all the people that live under it, so on and so forth. But the guy that's living on the 120th floor can see more than everybody that's underneath living him. He can see the furthest way possible that an eye can see. So he said that's our Chachamim. That's why we have Chachamim, Rabotai. The Chachamim, they have a vision to see far. But what do people do? They don't like what the Chachamim say. Do you know why? Because their vision is very small. They're still on the 1st floor. Good, it's not a problem. Be on the 1st floor. But don't bring the people that are on the 120th floor, don't bring them down with you to the 1st floor. You want to be able to go up to the 120th floor. Bring him down. Why is that okay that he should go down with them? It's not okay, Rabotai. And this is what I want to speak to you about today. You're not allowed to have mercy on a person that has no mercy on himself. And our problem is that Rabotai, we think we know what we're doing. We go out and we try to speak to this person, that person, and then they tell us, oh, why do you need this? But this is not right. The rabbis, they make up their own laws. They say these things. And in the end, Rabotai, instead of you heating them up and trying to get them to religion, they cool you down from religion, and then you don't understand, why am I not learning the way I'm supposed to? Why am I not davening? Why don't I have desire to do mitzvot? It's very simple, Rabotai. Just like you understand not to do sins, you need to understand to stay away from people that do not have the same outlook like you do. Very simple. That's it. These people have dangerous minds. They put poison, and they let you think, and while they continue doing whatever they want to do. It's very bad, Rabotai. So I want to share with you today, in Pirkei Avot, Rabotai brings down over here, in Perik Dalet Pasuk Tet Zayin, we need to know our goal. What's our goal? Let me read it for you. Rabbi Yaakov says, Ha'olam hazeh domeh leperzodor. He says this world is compared to a hallway which is before the palace of the king. Bifnei ha'olam haba, before the world to come. That this world that we have today is like a hallway before olam haba, before the king's palace. Ukeshem shehanichnas leheichal hamelech tzarich lahachin atzmo beperzodor. Just like a person, before he needs to enter into the palace of the king, he needs to prepare himself in the hallway, in the outer room, before he enters into the inner room where the king sits. Kach Rabotai, so too atken atzmecha b'teshuva u'b'maasim tovim. So too a person needs to fix himself with repentance in good deeds. Beperzodor, meaning Rabotai, be'olam hazeh, you have to fix yourself in this world. Kedei shetiskeh v'tikanes letarkalin, in order for you to have zuchut and that you're going to be able to enter to the palace, meaning to olam haba. But he says, Rabotai, ulam, however, im lo ta'asok b'maasim tovim, but if a person is not going to occupy himself with good deeds, lo tuchal hashlimam be'olam haba, you're not going to be able to complete them in the next world. Ukemo shemashlu chazal in Masechet Avodah Zarah Daf Gimel Amar Aleph, mi shetarach be'erev Shabbat yuchal b'Shabbat, mi shelo tarach be'erev Shabbat mehechan yuchal b'Shabbat. A person who did not prepare on erev Shabbat, you're going to have nothing to eat on Shabbat. But if a person went ahead and he prepared on erev Shabbat, he's going to have what to eat on Shabbat. V'chein masha, and so too in Ruth in Midrash Rabbah, Perek Gimel Pasuk Gimel. Ha'olam hazeh domeh leyavasha, ve'olam haba domeh leyam. This world, Rabotai, is compared to dry land. The world to come is compared to the ocean. Im ein adam mitaken beyabasha ma yuchal bayam. If a person does not prepare on dry land, if he doesn't take food with him that's going to be able to eat out in the sea, what is he going to eat over there? V'chein mashlu, also to again Rabotai, another parable. Ha'olam hazeh domeh liyeshuv, ve'olam haba domeh lemidbar. This world is compared to a settlement. The next world is compared to a place like a desert. If a person doesn't prepare himself where there is food to bring it with himself to the desert, what is he going to eat there? And so it continues again. This world is compared to summer. The next world is compared to rain, meaning summer days and winter days. What does that mean? If a person does not plant, does not plow, does not harvest in the summer days, what is he going to eat in the winter days? Very simple, Rabotai. Comes Rabbi Yaakov in Pirkei Avot in Perik Dalet in Pasuk Tet Zayin, in Mishnah Tet Zayin, Rabotai. What does he come and teach us? He teaches us over here a very important rule. If you do not prepare yourself in this world, you're going to come there empty. You need to prepare in this world, like he brought you proofs over here. Now, Rabotai, let me read for you the Misil Risharm, which I really wanted to focus on this because we need to understand. People have this very, very wrong understanding of, I want to help him, I want to do this, I want to do this, but we don't understand, Rabotai. We can't even help ourselves. We want to help other people. It's nice, Rabotai, be Mizak in the Rab, that's one of the biggest, that stands even higher than Talmud Torah. I'm not saying not, but understand, first a person has to be able to be himself full with Torah and mitzvot. I give an example. If I have a cup over here, and if I have another cup over here, or let's say you have surrounding cups over here, like they do the champagne glasses. If the champagne can only go up to here, the other glass of champagne which are underneath are never going to become full because he has nothing there. It's halfway full. But if Rabotai, if a person is overflowing with midot, mitzvot, Torah, chesed automatically, it starts overflowing. Then you're going to be able to help people even without even speaking to them, because they're going to see how refined you are. But what do we try to do, Rabotai? Half full, or maybe even a quarter, right? We're so empty, but we think we're full. And it's a very big problem, Rabotai, because we do not have our perspective. We don't have the proper eyeglasses to look and say, what am I doing? Is it right or wrong, etc.? I wonder if you read the Misal Yisham, what he brings down over here. And he says like this. When we speak about the trait of vigilance, of the trait of being awake, cautious, a person needs to be careful with his actions, and he has to be careful with matters that he undertakes. Koloimer, what does that mean? Meaning to say, a person needs to contemplate, and a person needs to watch over his actions and his ways. Hatovim hem imlo. A person needs to make cheshbon nefesh. He has to go ahead and he has to sit down during the day, once a day, once a week, but he has to make an accounting, like you do an accounting. Right now the season of taxes are coming up. Everybody's worried about the IRS. But Rabotai, what's going to be with the IRS, with Hashem? When was the last time you sat down and took note of, did I daven properly? Did I say karbanot? Did I say Hashayat are good? Are my brachot with kavanot? Do I even know anything in the Torah? Or all I do is listen to stories all day? The person has to be honest with himself. You have to do cheshbon hanefesh. You have to see if your deeds are good or not. The problem is, if you don't learn Torah, how are you going to know what you're doing is right or wrong? Why is it so important, Rabotai, to make this cheshbon hanefesh, to watch over one's ways? He says, because Rabotai, so as not to chas v'sholom abandon one's soul to the danger of destruction, meaning Gehenom. If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? And that's why, Rabotai, we're going to see, he's going to bring over here how important it is to have this trait of watching over oneself. And then he says, a person should not go normally like he's accustomed to his old ways, like a blind person that walks in darkness. This is something, Rabotai, that a person with brains which should be for sure obligated in doing this. Why? Since a person has the mind, the knowledge to be able to save himself and to run away from destruction, from destroying his own soul, how is it possible, Rabotai, that a person wants to close his eyes from saving his own neshama? And this is what we do a lot of times. We close our eyes. Okay, I could go over there. I could go over there. Somebody came up to me today. Somebody's like to me, Rabbi, what is it so wrong to be on the beach? What is so wrong? I'm not speaking about a person who's secular. It's asur to be on the beach. If it's man, woman, something else. Like in Israel, they have private beach, or you have your own private beach, is something else. I'm talking about where you have women walking in whatever they wear. I don't know if they're even wearing anything. And he's like, why is this so wrong? And he was very honest with me. So what am I doing wrong? Rabotai, the problem over there is he doesn't even realize the severity of what he's doing by being at the beach. So I try to tell him, so you see, you think that this is something mutar, but in reality it's asur. But he said, what am I doing wrong? I'm just sitting, I'm looking at the sun. But before you look at the sun, how do you get to that place? And Rabotai, and this is the problem. You think you're doing something right by coming and davening and learning, but you are really overlooking the bad that you're doing. And that's what he's trying to tell you over here. He's trying to say, how is it possible that a person closes his eyes from destroying his own neshama? Because the Gemara clearly says, even if you have a woman, Rabotai, we don't understand. The Gemara says that it's I forgot which Gemara says. It brings down over there a case that if women were doing laundry by the river and they would pick up, all they would pick up is a little bit from by the ankles, a little bit, just for their ankles not to get wet. If they would go ahead and pick it up, and a person is going to pass through there, the Gemara calls him a rasha. I told this to him today. I said, how do you think that this is allowed when it's clean out? He's like, yeah, but Rabbi, you understand, but it's not the same. I said, chas v'shalom to speak like that. This is apikorsut. Our problem is we have our own opinions. This is what I'm telling you. This is called mind which is poisoned by the outside world. And this dangerous mind is able to inflict anybody that in his surrounding. If you do not know what's right or wrong, and this person, he looks religious, beard, peyote, they don't even know, Rabotai. Or maybe they do know, or maybe their wife took them. I don't know the reason, Rabotai. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just trying to tell you, how does one close his eyes for going places? Or another guy tells me, what's wrong to go into a club? What's wrong to go into these forbidden parties? What's wrong going to the movie theaters? What do you mean what's wrong, Rabotai? What do you mean what's wrong? You're destroying your neshama. How do you close an eye, or both of your eyes, on the fact that you're destroying your neshama? But he asked me, he said, oh, so what if I close my eyes and I would go through the river, or I won't look, I'll sit like this, like a tzaddik, or I'll go to... Rabotai, you can't go around the bush with the Torah. The emes is, Rabotai, the Torah says, if you close your eyes, you're also a Rasha. Why? Because why did you put yourself in that test? Why did you put yourself in that test? You're not allowed to put yourself in such a test. And that's what we have to know. We have to be able to go ahead, and we have to look into our own deeds. Everybody for themselves. Every one of us knows what we're doing is right, what we're doing is wrong. Now, one of the biggest problems is that, the phones, Rabotai. One of the biggest problems is that how true this is, I hope it's not true, but somebody told me one time, he said, Rabbi, you speak about text messaging in the shul, that it's asur, right, doing davening, etc., etc. He said, Rabbi, I don't want to tell you, you speak about text messaging, I'm just happy you don't go around the shul and see what's going on, because he said, I see people watching movies, people watching clips, other people watching things that bichlal are immodest. I'm like, what? I went to a shul one time, and there was a person that he was watching a soccer game, literally by the Sefer Torah over here, and he was like literally maybe, I'm not going to exaggerate, maybe 20 feet away from the Sefer Torah, maybe 25, I'm being nice right now, and he's watching a soccer game. So I said, listen, you got to be careful when you approach people. So I said, Michla, Atem Yudim Shazel Asur. I told him in Hebrew because he was Israeli. I said, do you know that this is a sur? He's like, ma, ani oseh asur, ma. Ani lo oseh shudar, ma ani oseh. I mean, again, there's no davening, nothing. I said, you're sitting in the Beit Knesset, or Beit Medrash, because our Beit Knesset is the Beit Medrash. That's where we learn in daven. So he's like, you want to tell me that I'm not allowed to do this? I said, I'm not telling you that you're not allowed to do this. It's the Shulchan Aruch paskins. You're not allowed to do this in the shul. You're not allowed to have any type of improper behavior in the shul. That's improper. You wouldn't bring your phone to court. You wouldn't do these things. So why would you, even a regular meeting with your boss, you don't bring your phone. Why would you bring it over here? Especially, go outside, go to the basement. Go to the kitchen. There's no other place in the world. Why are you watching soccer game in the first place? Why? You learn all of Shulchan Aruch. And Rabotai, it's a very big problem. We don't look at these things. We don't look at these that they're a problem, but they're real big problems. And he will be held responsible. Why did he do Bittul Torah at that moment? You could have learned, no? What are you sitting there and just looking? And I don't want to tell the age of the guy. If I tell the age of the guy, I'm afraid he's going to know who he is. And he was not a guy who was in his 50s. He was above 60, Rabotai. You got to think, you're one leg in the grave already. You got to wake up. Why? And people are still, unfortunately, they're so sunk. They're so sunk into the desires of this world. Rabbi said, these things don't end. I'm just, I do this once a week. I'm not chas v'shalom out here to speak about anybody in particular. If I show you over here the room, there's nobody in front of me as I speak right now. There's nobody. And it's not easy to do these things in front of people. People get the wrong idea. Some people might have a weak heart. I mean, he might die from the speech. I don't know. I'm afraid, Rabotai. I'm not afraid to say to them. I'm afraid that they're going to die from having a weak heart. So that's what Rabotai, he says, yitaken sheyirtzeh la'alim enav mehatzalto. How is it possible that a person wants to close his eyes from saving his soul? And Rabotai, I want to read for you this. It's not me. So Moshe Chaim Igal. So you think you're a person, right? You think you're a person. You think we call Hamas today that they're lower than animals. That's what they're not even animals, because animals don't do this. Animals don't do that to people they did. Somebody showed me a video that's Rabotai, I don't know if I should say it, I'll say it. Somebody showed me a video that you had a lady, unfortunately, Rabotai, that they literally, I saw the video. They opened it, Rabotai, it's too graphic. They opened the stomach, they took out the baby. Rabotai, while she was alive, she was screaming. It's not even normal. We call them less than animals. But listen to this. But this person that he goes to a place where he's not supposed to be, or he does things that he's not supposed to do, and what, you think he's more than an animal? Let me read you what Rav Chaim Igal says. You have nothing that's more lowly and more foolishness than this when a person closes his eyes from taking care of his soul, from taking cheshbon nefesh. Why? Not why, he says. Second one who does it. Rabbi, what am I doing bad? Rabbi, what am I doing bad? Chamor Berlin, I'm telling you the emes, Rabotai, you don't understand. Rabotai, you don't understand. It's one thing if people do wrong. I understand people have Yetzer Hara. But don't make it right. Don't make it right. If you're doing something that's wrong, Rabbi, it's wrong. Unfortunately, I have ta'avot. I have ga'ava. I have ta'ava. I have kavod. I can't overcome these things. Fine, you have to work on it. Beautiful emes. This guy's emes. But on the other hand, what that guy wants to make what he's doing is right. What he's doing is wrong. Make it right. Rabotai, this guy's a faker, Blin. He with a beard, with peyot, with black and white. And then what's this? What's this? Rabotai, this is the problem. This is the problem we have today. We do wrong things and we try to justify them. And that's a very big problem. Don't be worried about yourself. Worry about other people that are watching you. You know how many people came up to you? Not you. You know how many people came up to me and they told me, Rabbi, if it's asur to be in these parties, why are the rabbis sitting there? I said, what do you want me to answer for them? Why don't you go ask them? Why don't you go ask them? Don't ask me, ask them. It's very simple, Rabotai. The checks are coming in. That's why. What do you think? You know, Rav Chaim one time said, you have to be very careful who you follow. You have to be very careful. Again, I'm not speaking about nobody. I don't cause when people take this video now and take it. I don't know what's going to happen. Rabotai, people have to be very careful. Rabotai, unfortunately, Rav Chaim said, a lot of the times it's done because of kavod, mammon, etc. You have to be careful, Rabotai, who you listen to, who you follow. Are they ishemet? Are they doing the right thing? If they're doing the right thing, it doesn't matter if $500,000 is coming in or $0 are coming in. That means that they shouldn't be the only ones sitting there. That means you should have Gedolim from Israel also sitting there. If it's all right, what's so wrong? Let everybody come. But that's not the case. The only ones that come, the people that are being supported, or the yeshivas are being supported. Why? Where's the rest of the rabbis? Why is there such? Why do we have this unity, Rabotai? Why have we one? So look what he says. Ve'oseke, one who does so. Hu pachut mehabehemot umehachayot. This person that closes his eyes, that justifies the wrongdoing that he does, that says, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? He doesn't even pay attention to this guy or the woman. What does it matter about him? He says he's lower than an animal or a beast. So you think Hamas is bad? I don't want to. Should I compare you guys to Hamasim? I wouldn't do that, Rabotai. But Rav Chaim Igal is saying that we are lower than animals. Why would you ever close an eye when it comes to your neshama? Why, when it comes to driving a car, you don't pass the red light, you don't pass the stop sign, because you're afraid you might hit somebody. You're afraid your car's going to get damaged, so you're going to pay a few $1,000s. But when your neshama gets damaged, you're not afraid of that. The suffering that the neshama is going to go through in the next world, you're not afraid of that? Or even in this world before he dies, you're not afraid of that? That's okay by you? Rabotai, we have to think what we're doing. We have to think, why did we come down to this world? Like the Pirkei Avot says, like Rabbi Yaakov says, this is only a hallway to the palace, Rabotai. This world is only a hallway to the palace. Why are we preparing so much in the hallway? What are you going to have in the palace? Why does he compare us lower to animals and beasts? He says, Asher b'tiv'am l'shmor et atzmam. Because by nature, animals and beasts are able to guard themselves. Ve'al ken yivrechu v'yinusu mikol mai shireh lahem, hiyuto mazik lahem. Because when you're dealing with animals, if they sense any danger, Rabotai, Listen to this very carefully. They will flee and they will run away to protect themselves. And we, Rabotai, we put ourselves in places of danger. For that fact, people, just let me get this out. This was not something, 1 second. Let me see, Rabotai Michela, let me see if I could find it. Kuftet Zain. Yeah, Rabotai, I want to show you something. I want to ask you a simple question. I heard this from a rabbi, but I didn't. You hear things, but you always have to look them up. It's not it's not what I'm saying this. I heard it from somebody, but then I had to look it up. But he didn't bring the source. He just made a comment, but I want to see what he said made sense, was logical. So I like the logic, so I want to see if it's actually found in the Shulchan Aruch. Let me see if I could find it. Halavai, if I find it now, it'll be very nice. Kuf Tet Zayin. Halacha. Kuf Tet Zayin. Halacha Hey. Baruch Hashem, found it. Rabotai, why am I bringing this down? Because right now we said a second ago that an animal senses danger, it runs away. But we sense danger and we put ourselves we put ourselves in danger. That's a very big problem. And then people want to know, why does Hashem do this to me? Why does Hashem do this to me? So this rabbi said, I want to make something clear. He said, will Hashem ever give a person a test that is not going to be able to overcome? The answer is obvious, no. Hashem will never put you into a test that you're not going to be able to overcome. So people do a lot of foolish things where they put themselves into the hole. They build themselves basically a grave without having a way to come out of the grave. Meaning to come out of the hole. And then they say, how can Hashem do this to me? Rabotai, Hashem didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself. And why am I saying this? The nafkamina will be like this. The difference will be like this. If Hashem puts you in a certain situation, that means you are able to go ahead and overcome that situation. But if you yourself put yourself in that situation, don't expect Hashem to take you out of yourself. Don't expect Hashem to take you out of that danger. And Rabotai, when I saw this, because there's something when Hashem makes a person go through a test, but there's another thing when a person he puts himself in that test. He goes to a place where he's not supposed to be, on a beach, or he goes to not kosher parties, where there's that, etc., or he does things which are not Rabotai, which are against halacha. And then he looks at the girl, and then he falls, and he sleeps with this, and then he looks at it, and then he wants to why his children are off the derech. Rabotai, very simple. Hashem didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself. By looking at another girl, by going having a relationship with your wife, by making that child, with having think about that woman, sleeping with your wife, and that child really spiritually belongs to that woman, and then he's rebellious, and then you want to understand why, how. Rabotai, Hashem will never in his life give you, Hashem never, Rabotai, will give you a test that you cannot pass. But you can put yourself in the test that you will fail. That's a fact. Now, Rabotai, how do I know this? I went and looked it up. How do I know that a person is not allowed to put himself into danger? I don't want to go through the whole halacha. I'm just really short on time. I'm already spoke a lot. The Ramah brings down in Yoreh Day in Simon Kuftet Zayin, that's 116, and halacha hey. V'chen yizacher mikol divaraim hamiviim l'dei sakana. A person has to be careful from all things that bring a person to danger. Ki sakanta chamira me'isura. Because danger is worse than the prohibition. V'yesh lachush yoter l'safek sakana min l'safek isur. Do you know what he's saying? A person has to be more careful if there's a doubt, if there's going to be danger where I'm going now, if there's going to be a dangerable time. And we go to these places and we're not afraid. That's not a doubt. For sure you're going to fall. For sure you're going to see a girl that's not modest. For sure you're going to have bad thoughts. Don't tell me stories about that you Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a halacha Moshe Sinai. If your eyes see something Rabotai, automatically grabs your heart, and then a person wants to do the action chas v'shalom. It's halacha Moshe Sinai. There's not one rabbi that's going to argue on this. He says that if it's a danger that if I'm going to go there, something's going to happen to me. That's worse than Rabotai, where there's a suffix, it's a doubt. That's worse than doing something if there's a doubt if it's forbidden or not. It's better to do this and then to go there, because that's what he's saying. V'yesh lachush, a person has to be more concerned. L'safek sakana, where there's a doubt of a doubtful case of danger, milasafek isur, where there's a doubtful case of doing something which is forbidden. And that's what Rabotai the Gemara brings down. Anybody who places himself in danger, like this guy told him, what am I doing wrong? I'm going to close my eyes. No problem, Rabotai, do whatever you want. Rabotai, you're not doing it for me, you're doing it for yourselves. Do whatever you want. The bottom line is, anybody who puts himself in the danger, even if he closes his eyes with mitpach, with those scarves, doesn't matter, Rabotai. If you come out of there all well, nice and well, you should know the thing. The Gemara says, menachim lo zichuyotav. They reduce your zichuyot because they have to save you. For whatever reason it is, Rabotai. Go ahead, try to look this halachot, try to learn it, Rabotai. It's a Gemara, it's a whole thing, which I do not have the time to get into this, but I just wanted to touch upon this because he brings down over here that if an animal is able to save himself from something dangerous, how do we close ourselves? How do we close our eyes by allowing our neshamot to be destroyed by all the outside worldly stuff that goes on in the world? Come, let me get to what I really want to speak about. If a person goes in this world without contemplation, if his ways are good or not, he's like a blind person that's walking on the board on the edge of the seashore. For sure his danger is very great. His downfall is closer than somebody going to be able to save him. What is the difference between a guy who's blind by nature and he can see and he gets into trouble because he can't guard himself, or by a person where he has eyes and he closes his eyes on his bad action and the things that he's doing, if they're right or wrong? What's the difference? They're one and the same, Rabotai. Over here he's just physically blind, over here you're blind spiritually. You close your eyes, they're one. Vihina Rabotai, and over here he says Yirmiyahu, the prophet Yirmiyah, Hayam mitonen al ro'a b'nei doro. He would complain, Rabotai, on the evil of his generation, mipnei heyutam nigu'im b'nega midazot, being, Rabotai, that they were afflicted with this plague of closing their eyes, like he says over here, shehayu ma'alim enehem mima'asehem b'li she'asimu lev l'ro'ot mahem mihala'asot im la'asef. Because Rabotai, Yirmiyah would complain and he would scream out basically that the fact that the people in his generation would close their eyes from their deeds without even paying attention to see what they were doing. Should they have done that deed, or maybe they should have refrained from doing it? A person needs to think. A person needs to have mazgi, Rabotai. Ve'amar alehem, and Yirmiyah said in the Pereket Pasuk Vav, En ish nachem al ra'ato limor. There was not a person that would regret his bad doing to say, Kula shah b'mirta. Everybody went in the regular course of nature, meaning habitual, whatever, day in, day out, same thing. Kisuf shotev b'milchama. Like a horse that's rushing into war. V'hainu, what does that mean? Shahayu rotfim v'holchim b'mirta hergalam v'darchechem mibli she'enichu zban la'atzmam לדקדק על המעשים הדרכים ונמצא שהם נופלים ברעה בלי ראות אותם. Rabotai, he says, what does that passage mean? He says they would go after, they would chase in such quickness after their habitual ways that without even putting some time aside to look into their deeds and their ways to see if they're good or not and what would be the end result. In the end it came out that they would fall into something bad, meaning they were doing a vera without even seeing the end result of their destruction. Because why? Because they didn't stop to think and contemplate, am I doing what I'm doing, is it right or wrong, etc. In truth, he says that this is one of the plots or one of the tricks of the Yetzer Hara and its cunningness. להכביד עבודתו בתמידות על ליבות בני האדם עד שלא יישאר להם רווח להתבונן ולהסתכל באיזה דרך הם הולכים. That's why the Yetzer Hara, Rabotai, to go ahead and make our work heavy, Rabotai. But I want to show you something. להכביד עבודתו, Rabotai, to make Hashem's avodah constantly on us, on our hearts, Rabotai. Why? In order for us not to have any time to think and to look in which way are we going or not. We're so constantly busy, Rabotai, busy, this, that. We're running. Where are you running? Did you ever stop and think, like Rabbi Victor Miller Zatzal said, did you ever stop and take 5 seconds, 10 seconds from your day and ask yourself, what's the purpose of me being in this world? Why am I here? For what? And to know where you're going, Rabotai, where am I? Rabotai, where is a person's real address? Very simple, Rabotai. Cooper Avenue, 49th exit, cemetery. That's your home. So what are you trying to sit here and make all the Rabotai? I'm not telling the person he has to be miserable. No, Rabotai, you have to be besimcha when you serve Hashem. But I'm trying to bring out this point that a person needs to take into account when it comes to Averis. You need to take into consideration that you will be held responsible. But the problem is, if you're always busy running, working, do it. If you're always so busy, when do you have the time to stop and ask yourself, how was my davening? How was my shayatar? How did I say the bracha today? Did I respect my wife? Did I respect my kids? Etc. How was I with my workers today? Did I cut anyone? Did I curse anyone? We don't have this, Rabotai. We don't have a daily accounting of what we do. But when it comes to tax season, we have all the. We're afraid of the IRS. Rabotai, you shouldn't be afraid of people. You should be afraid of God. And that we're missing very much. Like Rabbi Yochanan says in Maseh Berachot Daf Chavchet Amud Bet, and that's page 22, page 28, side 2. When the students asked when Rabbi Yochanan was dying, Rabbeinu, bless us. He said, may you guys fear God the way you fear people. And so that's the bracha you give us. Rabbi Yochanan, in time of the Gemara, he says, halavai, if it only were possible that people can fear God the way they do fear people, it would be a different avodah Hashem. But that's the truth about that, because he says, when a person wants to go do an affair with a woman, he makes sure that the husband is not here. Or whenever he wants to end affair or lashon hara, he makes sure the other person is not here. But when the person is here, he's afraid. But I don't get it. If the husband is not here, or that person who you want to say lashon hara on is not here, what? He isn't here? Hashem is not here? First halakha in Shulchan Aruch. Hashem is watching you always. He not only watches, he even writes everything. He takes everything into account, accounting, big and small. Rabotai continues, he says, Ki yodeyahu, because the Yetzer Hara knows. She'ilu lehayu samim libam kim'at kat al derechechem, because the Yetzer Hara knows, had we put our thought on our ways, vadai shemiyad hayu matchilim linachem b'masachim v'hayta harata holech l'medgber b'hem ash hayu ozim hached legamri. For sure, he says that people would go ahead and they would regret if they would just contemplate for 1 second, Rabotai, what are we doing? What am I doing? What's good or not, etc. Immediately, Rabotai, they will start regretting. The regret will become so big that they're going to avoid the sin altogether. Rabotai, I'm short on time. I'm going to jump to the end, unfortunately. He says it like this. Oh, man. I want to see something. He says like this. He says, ופשוט הוא שאפילו אם יפקח אדם על עצמו אין בכוח להינצל אילולא הקדוש ברוך הוא עוזרו. כי היצר הרע תקיף מאוד. רבותיי, even if a person is going to go ahead and watch over his deeds, it doesn't matter, רבותיי, so much, not that so much you have to. Still, you need Hashem to intervene. But listen to this carefully. Why? He says, because the Yitzhar is very strong. Like it says in Tehillim, because the Rasha, Rabotai, the Yitzhar, he looks to kill the tzaddik, but Hashem is not going to allow him. Rabotai, this is what I want to get to. However, im ha'adam mipakech al atzmo. But if a person is going to watch over himself, carefully, Rabotai, however, im ha'adam mipakech al atzmo. If a person is going to watch over himself, he's going to make a reckoning with himself. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu ozro v'nitzol min ha'yitzhar. Then Hashem is going to help you, and He's going to save you from the Yitzhar. That's when He's going to save you. Aval, however, the other way around, imeinu mipaker hu al atzmo. But if he doesn't watch over himself, if he doesn't care for himself, if he doesn't care for his neshama, and he tells you all these things, all these stories, Rabotai, you tell him, come on, you tell him that, Rabotai, listen to this carefully. Vadai shakadosh baruch hu lo yipakeach alav. For sure, Hashem is not going to watch over him. Why? Ki im hu eino chas mi yachus alav. If he doesn't care for himself, if he doesn't worry about his neshama, who's going to worry for his neshama? Rabotai, who's saying this? Not me. Rav Chaim Igal. And who's he speaking on? Hashem says, if you don't watch over yourself, I will not watch over you. והוא כי הנה מה שאמרו זכרונו לברכה במעשה ברכות דף ל"ג עמוד א', כל מי שאין בו דעה, anybody who doesn't have knowledge, anybody who doesn't have a seichel רבותיי, the mind, anybody who doesn't use their masgi, אסור לרחם עליו. You're not allowed to have mercy on him, רבותיי, like it says in Pirkei Avot in Perek Aleph Mishnah Yudalet, im en anili mili. If I'm not going to be for myself, who's going to be for myself? I want to just conclude with this, Rabotai. Very, very important. We start a whole lecture. Are you allowed to have mercy on people that do not have mercy on themselves? Hashem doesn't watch over them, and it's also for you to have mercy on them. And what do you have to do, Rabotai? First, have mercy on yourself and stay away from people that have dangerous minds. Do not allow other people's opinions, thoughts, whims, whatever it is, come and affect you. You know you have the emet, you have the Torah, you go with the Torah. They have shtuyot outside, and they go with that. And in the end, Rabotai, the Torah is emet, stays forever. Sheker, what they have, Rabotai, eventually, Sheker has no legs, it's going to collapse. You're going to come to realize, wow, he was emet. Why didn't